Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Knoll. I hope you all had a great holidays, and welcome back to the Movie Battleground. We are back. Let me adjust that camera. Can't get anything right the first time around. We are back here for 2023 in the Movie Battleground. The last time out, we ended the season on the highest of notes by crowning a new champion in Amaru Moses. And so, of course, begins a new season in which people will debate their movie opinions in an attempt to get wins to try and get to Amaru Moses. Although we already have higher contenders, so maybe it won't be Amaru Moses by the time we get there. I don't know. Well, let's see what the fuck happens. That's the point of all this, right? I want to start off the show as I take a second. Apologies. To apologize. Anyone who's paid attention to the Facebook page knows that over the basically right before we began our first recording week of the season, I contracted COVID. I say contracted like it's an STD, but it's just COVID. I'm okay. Nothing sexual. I don't have that much of a life. But I may have a little bit of a cough these first few matches. I apologize. It's not the sexiest thing to listen to if you're listening to the show, but it's what we have to deal with. And thankfully, other than that, my health is perfectly fine. Well, aside from other health issues potentially, but we'll deal with those when we deal with them, right? With that said, though, for this first matchup of the year, we have a duo that have a bit of history with each other, not in the battleground, just personally. We have Zachary Shelton taking on Jacob West. This is a matchup that goes back to last year because Zach, who made his debut in the Battleground part of the way through last season, he was one of our mid-season entrants, had a solid outing for himself. You know, he had a good showing his first match, but he took an L. He came back with a knockout victory. He then was supposed to play Papa after kind of calling him out, making the shout, saying, I want to take on Papa. I gave him his match. However, luck shifted his way. He had an opportunity to go into the tournament as a last-minute entrant instead due to some dropouts. That did not go his way. Joe Fairley, former champion, took care of him. But he is back for another opportunity, and he's going to get that chance to go up against Papa, the match that he wanted so much before. And Papa is back for another year of not caring. I'm just presuming. I don't know what would change in the offseason that would make him care this time around, because he didn't really care much last year either. So let's talk to Papa first. Introducing the first opponent tonight, coming in with a record of 2 wins, 4 defeats, and 1 knockout. He is everybody's 38th favorite dad in the fan league, Papa Jacob West. Papa, welcome back to the Battleground. You are my favorite Smurf. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Wait, did you just call me a Smurf?
Yes.
Okay. You're right. I don't care, Aaron. Zach, the annoying piece of shit. I was hoping you'd play that clip. That clip was amazing.
It'll be edited. It's edited. That's the start.
Okay.
They'll see.
I cannot wait to watch that then. You called me out. Why? I do not know. I'm a lot more worried about finding a way out of this stupid contract that Aaron forced me to sign. So, Zach, you don't get my full attention. I will not give you my full attention. And to prove that, Papa's cooking dinner. Papa's going to beat that small ass of yours while he is providing sustenance for the family. How does that make you feel, Zach? How does that make you feel?
Can I get a plate?
Yeah. Drive up here.
All right, cool. Don't bother me then. Don't burn the house down. I don't want that liability on the channel. But we're going to go ahead and sit you in the back and let you heat up some onions or whatever. What are you cooking? I have to ask.
So it's called cowboy beans and rice. It's some ground beef that I have cooking right now. That is what this white pan is.
Yep. I figured that much.
In that white pan. And then this pan is rice. After I cook up the beef a little bit, I'm going to put these Bush's baked beans in there. And then after the rice is done, we're going to throw all of it in there. And it's just going to be delicious.
All right.
Actually, I won't throw the beans and stuff in the rice. It'll be like rice separate, and
Rice on the
then
side, like a
beans
side
and meat.
dish.
Yeah. Then you can have it on top, or you can have it on the side. I personally do the rice, and then put the food on top of it and eat it
Okay.
all together. And then we're also going to throw a crap ton of sweet baby
Barbecue
Ray's
sauce.
barbecue sauce in there.
Good
Dude,
barbecue. Good barbecue.
This is going to be delicious. I feel sorry for everyone at home because you're going to have to deal with Aaron coughing. You're going to have to deal with Zach, kind of annoying, and then just listen to me talk about this amazing food. But if y'all want to come over, I'm making plenty.
All right, perfect. Well, we'll check back in on that later. But in the meantime, I'm going to put you in the back and bring in the opponent. Coming in with a record of 1 win, 2 defeats, and 1 knockout, he is Zachary Shelton. Zach, you have some honor to defend tonight. Papa has called you annoying. Papa has called you someone he can beat. Papa has said he will punish that. He's called your ass tiny. How are you feeling tonight? Can you take the victory? And answer the question we all want to know. Is that ass tiny, or is it of a size that would impress the best of twerkers?
I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to answer the movie trivia questions in a better way than Papa can. So that's all he has to worry about.
This is not movie trivia. I have no trivia questions.
What I meant is I'm going to defend these answers better.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I have no movie trivia questions. I have no interest in writing those. That's a lot of extra work. I only have to write 4 questions to match this. 5. I guess I have to write 5. But still, it's a lot harder. Okay, so and just to double check, no comments about your ass.
Nope.
No defense. Okay.
I mean, unless it was part of a movie that I'm debating, but it's not. So.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna work on that for the future. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and bring Papa into the stream, and we will go ahead and get this going. Movie Battleground is a game that is a best of 5 rounds. It is the first of 3 points wins the match. Each round of debate is going to be worth 1 point. If a competitor picks up the first 3 points in a row, that will be a victory by knockout. That is something both of you have tasted at least once. And if it is a 2-2 tie at the end of 4 rounds, we will move on to the blind round tiebreaker. But we'll worry about that should we have to get there. Excuse me. That couldn't have happened while the damn banner was still up, couldn't have. In terms of the matches, you guys have had the questions. You had as much time as I can give you to prep for it, and you've done what you can. You'll get 60 seconds to open up. That'll be followed by a 2-minute solo expansion period, 4 minutes of open debate, and a 60-second closing argument. Following that, I have 3 judges backstage in the form of Brian Nussbaum, Richie Goodacre, and Jonathan Peck. They will join us on screen, and based off the arguments the competitors have given, they will give their deliberation on who gets the point. With all that said, competitors, are we ready to go?
Yes.
All right. Smiley, happy Papa there. Let's go ahead and get into this. And one of the things this season that we're going to be focusing on is I want to have more matches where we have questions themed around films that are coming out, because I think it's a great way to sort of tie it into the film world. And coming up next weekend, we have what is sure to be the biggest hit of the month, in a month that features a Marvel movie, 80 for Brady, which is the real, I guess, it's about as real as Tag is also real, but the real story of 4 elderly women who made a trip to what they thought would be Tom Brady's last run at the Super Bowl. And just like always, Tom Brady proved them all wrong before hilariously flopping. I can say that as somebody who lives in Florida but doesn't care about the NFL. Tom, I said 2 years ago you should have retired when you won the Super Bowl. These last 2 years in Antonio Brown's career have not been worth it. But with that said, 80 for Brady is the latest in a series of films in which older women get it on. In the past, you've had Book Club, which was older women getting it on for 50 Shades of Grey. And now we have older women getting it on for Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, who, can I just say, Rob, your dumb face in that trailer was absolutely astounding. But with that said, older actors leading films is a huge part of cinema that's often forgotten and not talked about. So let's talk about it. The question is, what is the best film that is led by an elderly ensemble? Now, the ground rule that I set is majority of the leading cast being about 65 plus when filmed. Technically, if you do the research on these answers, neither of them 100% fit that qualification. However, they both meet the spirit of what I'm trying to get at with this question. So let's take the rule that I set and put that rule aside, because I can do that and focus on the answers, because I think both these films, two great choices, and let's get the debate going. So with that said, Zach, because you are higher ranked on the board, you have the choice of which questions to go first on. You chose to go first on 2 and 4, which means, Papa, you will be going first on question number 1. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the timer. I'm going to wish you guys both the best of luck on this first matchup of our new year. Papa, the timer starts for you when you begin speaking.
All right. Yes. So we know in life there are certain guarantees. Taxes, death, Tom Brady disappointing everybody, whether it's wanting him to win. I don't know why you would want him to win, and then just getting destroyed by the Cowboys. How that happens, I don't know. But that's definitely going to happen. Another thing is the Chargers not going to be able to hold on to a 27-point lead. Guarantee, not going to happen. Zach beating me, guarantee. That's not going to happen. But then the other guarantee that I have, number 6, is old men are grumpy. And this is very apparent in 1993's Grumpy Old Men, available on HBO Max. HBO Max, please sponsor us, because I'm going to be talking a lot about y'all here in the next couple months, because I love HBO Max. Also really love Grumpy Old Men. Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, Burgess Meredith, and Margaret are all the people who fit in above 65 plus, and they're great.
And time. All right, HBO Max, I'll take a sponsorship. I know you guys don't have money to throw around. You're like canceling things left and right to save money on tax breaks. But if you have a spare dollar from that back row production, toss it my way. With that said, Zach, you are up next. Time starts when you begin speaking, sir.
So in the case of like Grumpy Old Men, you could go with an elderly ensemble that focuses more on comedy. Or you can go the other route, which is a good-hearted drama that is just something that you could just sit back and enjoy for what it is. And for me, that movie that I chose is The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. And I'll explain more in my 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll take that as a time concession. So I'm going to go ahead and bump the timer forward. And Papa, I'm assuming you are still with us. If you could please return fully clothed, you'll have 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. I'm not going to hop on a call naked again. We already know X-rated movies featuring Zach Shelton will never appear on Movie Battleground. We hope X-rated movies featuring Papa West will never appear, because hopefully I'll never have to be in one. Will I? We'll see. But Zach, you said you chose the best dramatic, good-hearted movie. No, you didn't. The grand, whatever it's called, it's the Exotic Marigold Hotel. Very confusing name to begin with, which definitely goes against it. But it's very boring. You have all these characters who interact with each other barely. When they do interact with each other, it's really not that interesting. Really, the best parts of these movies are when they're not together. Judi Dench, whenever she's helping the call center, you start digging into her character. That scene is great. You have the hotel owner, his relationship with his mom, his relationship with his girlfriend, his want to make this hotel succeed. That is great. Everything else sucks. Maggie Smith is racist because Maggie Smith has to be racist in this movie. It's not believable at all. It's very dreadful, especially when she starts. When you first see her, she's in the hotel bed and the doctor's there, and she's like, "I need another doctor." Why? Because no matter how hard he scrubs, he's not washing that color off. That's a disgusting line that is praised in your movie. Just throughout, you can tell she's uncomfortable, but then randomly she starts liking people. I don't know why. You also have Bill Nighy, who's in a non-happy relationship. Well, I'm not happy anytime he's in the movie, and that includes when he's with Judi Dench. But you know what? I'm very happy watching Grumpy Old Men. It is a very good comedy. Seeing the relationship between Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. They start out not liking each other, but being mean to each other, kind of picking on each other. But you can tell just by that it's a
And
great
time.
friendship.
All right, Zach, back over to you. 2 minutes on the clock when ready.
It's funny because Papa actually gave a positive thing for my movie, and that's what I'll first start with, is the performances. The three standouts for me were Tom Wilkinson, Judi Dench, and Maggie Smith. You get to learn the backstories of these characters with these three, especially with Tom Wilkinson. You get to learn why, like, he was born and was raised in India, and he had to leave for a certain reason, and you find out why he returned. But along with those three, you still get you get another great performance with Dev Patel. And like Papa said, you get to figure out his relationship with his mother and his girlfriend. And just all of those make it so genuine in a way. And you kind of want them to succeed in what they're doing. Another thing is that it's not as prevalent like you've seen in like travel documentaries, but like you get to explore different aspects of India, and it makes it feel like you're really there. The last thing I'll say is that this movie actually has a great message, and that's about stepping out of your comfort zone and about embracing change, especially with like Maggie Smith's character. Yes, she was unlikable in the beginning, but as with being in India, she was able to change, and we were able to see the difference that she makes by the end of the movie.
All right, that is time. We're going to go ahead and jump into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will start back up when the first competitor speaks.
All right, so Zach, I just want to let you in on a little secret. So I'm browning up my beef right now, and there's a lot of grease in there. So I threw in a paper towel to kind of soak up that grease. Great way to get rid of fat. You talked about Maggie Smith having that character development. Where is it? Because she starts off racist, and then boom, out of nowhere, she's not racist. There's no in between. You talked about Tom Wilkinson's character. He randomly dies. They don't explain that. He just dies randomly. Your movie is weird because it needs like 30 more minutes to do all this plot development, but it's an hour too long.
See, but at least with my movie, at least the performances seem natural. There's the only natural part of your movie is Anne Margaret. It, like, even the conversations, your conversations in your movie are very start and stop. At least mine, the conversations in my movie, at least have a flow to them. And it's just like...
Have you ever talked to your grandfather, and he's very blunt and very quick with his responses and doesn't delve them out? It's because old men are very to the point. They don't need long, extended arguments as far as why this is how it is. It's boom, story, boom, point. Hey, it's very natural.
Yeah, and then the other thing I'll say is that with the performances of Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, who have had success in the past, it seemed like they did not want to be there. It seemed like their performances, talk about performances again, were very stiff. And it just like, it was kind of hard to watch at times.
Well, first off, they're stiff because they're old men. They cannot move well. It's not that they don't want to be there. It's that they don't want to be around each other because they don't think they like each other. In the very first scene, Jack Lemmon's character is leaving his house out the back to avoid a guy knocking his door, who turns out to be with the IRS. And then he runs into Walter Matthau's character. The IRS guy goes up to Walter Matthau, and he's like, "Have you seen Mr. Gustafson?" And he's like, oh yeah, the weird kook who's never on his meds and likes looking at those fat ladies naked, and starts saying all this bad stuff about this guy, which kind of makes you laugh because Jack Lemmon's character is right there listening to all of this, and he has to like kind of agree, because if he doesn't, he's going to give himself away to this to the IRS guy. That's pretty funny, Zach. I
But
realize this humor goes over your head, but it's a little bit of slapstick. It's also a little bit of satire, which works so well. It's two of the best comedies out there.
I mean, if there was humor that went over my head, I was going to say I didn't actually see any humor in this entire comedy. Maybe there was like one at the very beginning that I maybe chuckled. I don't even remember what the humor was. And then the whole like the recurring fish joke, it wasn't funny the first time, and the next few times that they did it, it still wasn't funny. So it was like beating a dead horse with the same joke.
Well, again, it goes over your head, which is hilarious. Jack Lemmon is trying to show to Walter Matthau that, hey, his fish are good, because Walter Matthau just makes that comment of, you can't catch a fish. So he jokingly throws it in Walter Matthau's scene where he finds the fish and is driving.
All right, so we're going to go on to the 1 minute closings. Papa, you are back up first, so you can continue your statement or start fresh. That is completely up to you. You have 1 minute to do so.
You say that one specific fish prank is beating a dead horse. First off, that all those fish scenes are hilarious because it's Jack Lemmon's first thing that he does towards a prank to Walter Matthau's character. The scene where Walter Matthau's driving down the road, swerving back and forth because he's looking for this, is hilarious. And then it shows his character when he's about to get hit by this UPS truck, and he swerves off to the side. The UPS driver swerves off also. And then he makes that comment, idiot doesn't know how to drive. It speaks to his character even more, which is hilarious. I don't understand why that goes over your head. I laughed hysterically. And then it shows Walter Matthau's character, his love towards his friend. Well, even though they are rivals, he throws it into the IRS guy's car. And then he finally gets back to Jack Lemmon's character whenever he throws it in the car after him and Ariel's wedding. It's not beating over a dead horse. It's story. It's hilarious, and it works a lot. Nothing in your movie works.
And time. Okay, Zach, over to you. You have the final minute of the round.
So, for me, I think the best exotic marigold hotel is the best movie featuring an elderly ensemble, and I've listed the reasons. I'll say them again. You get great performances from especially Tom Wilkinson, Judi Dench, Maggie Smith, and even Dev Patel. You get views of India that make you feel like you're in the movie. You have conversations that feel natural and that flow. And then, like I said, you get a great message of embracing change and stepping out of your comfort zone and what will happen. Like what could happen in those scenarios when you decide to go on a different path. So for that, that's why I feel like this is the best movie featuring an elderly ensemble.
All right, and that will be time on the round. Go ahead and put both of our competitors in the back, and we will bring in our judges for the deliberation. And for fact checks, I have none. I will be temporarily suspending fact checks for the start of the season because my throat hurts and I don't want to talk more. Brian, I'm going to go to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I'll go with Zach on this one. He was talking more about his movie where Papa didn't argue why Great Bill Man was a better film, so I'll go with Zach on this one.
Okay, and Richie, we're going to go over to you. Same question.
Well, yeah, I might leave it in Jonathan's hands because I'm going with Papa here. I thought, yeah, like Zach did a good job at selling his movie, but like I think Papa did a good job at like counteracting his points, especially with yeah, like in terms of like stiff performances, yeah, I think he did a good job of counteracting that, and I don't think Zach had much for it. And while he did a good job selling his movie, I don't think he didn't explain why it's potentially better than Grumpy Old Men. But yeah, so it was close, but yeah, I think Papa just kind of was able to hammer home a lot more points than and like counteract. And I don't think Zach was able to sort of rebound as well. So I'm gonna go Papa.
Okay, which means Peck, we'll go to you for the tiebreaker, as concise as you can hit it for me. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Okay, then. It's up to me. Okay. Quick disclaimer before I made my final thoughts. I have never seen both these movies, so basically get my brain a little open fresh while I'm about to do it. So just want to leave that out there. And both of the arguments, to be honest, is very much not that big hurting as more I thought they were to do it. I'd say there weren't counters to that. It just wasn't that little counter enoughly that I thought they were. So mine's a little bit harder to understand and more to concise. But at the end of the day, I think the person who gives a little bit more reasoning for what itself, though, and at least counter, even though it was a brief moment, it's a good counter to the other person's argument. It's Papa West because for Grumpy Old Man, because he pointed out to like, why did he sort of like that? Even when Zach countered his point of the stiff, I was like, well, they're old men. They were supposed to be more stiff, and the more they are, basically, agely. And he used more sort of his point of why his film was a little more well-rounded than Bezazad Motel, though. So I will give my point to Papa West.
Okay, all right, judges, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys in the back and bring the competitors back in as we're going to go ahead and move on to question number 2. All right, we're going to go ahead and move into question number 2. And question number 2 is a viewer submitted question. This is one that is brought to us by one of you at home. And it is funny enough, sometimes when I write matches, I write part of the match, the stuff that's not the strengths, before I actually set the calendar and put who's who on the match. And I put this question here because I thought it was just a really great question. It was one of the more unique viewer submitted questions that we had in the vault, so I decided to put it on the first match of the season. So brought to us by somebody who Papa West is very familiar with, Noah McCausland. The question is, which historical event in history, which is horrible English now that I read that out loud, but I'm going to stick with it, which historical event in history that's never had a major studio film should get one? Because we all know that Hollywood loves telling true stories or based on true stories, depending on the accuracy. But there's a lot of things in history that have not had their due. Which one should get that film? With that said, we're going to bring in the timer. Zach, we're going to turn it back over to you for your opening minute when you begin speaking.
So when it comes to movies based on history, you can get both sides of the spectrum. You can either get one that's based on maybe a positive event in history, or a lot of them are kind of bleak and not one that you really want to watch. But there's also a third one, the totally ridiculous event in history that you just scratch your head and wonder, how did this actually happen? So that's the event I want to focus on. And my event is the Great Emu War of 1932 in Western Australia. So the synopsis basically is that 20,000 emus faced off against the Australian military in order to reduce their population from eating crops. And I'll expand more in my 2 minutes.
And time. All right, Papa, back over to you. Opening minute on the clock when ready.
So what we need to ask ourselves is, what historical event is so important that I need to watch a feature film about this? Noah, I love this question. By the way, you dropped something. This is for you, Noah, because you love doing that to me. So let me ask you something. What is the most important invention in the history of mankind? I'll give you 3-4 seconds to kind of think about it. Okay, time's up. It's called the aglet. It's that little piece of plastic on the end of your shoelace. I'm not going to make a movie about that because Phineas and Ferb did a great job of writing a song about it in a TV episode that made people remember it. Okay, what is the second most important history in all of human history? That would be the printing press by my friend Johann Gutenberg back in, I believe it was the 1400s. That is why the invention of the printing press needs to be made into a movie. Because why did he do it? I don't know, but I'm glad he did.
And time. All right. So just to recap for people, we have for Zach, the Great Emu War; for Papa, the invention of the printing press. Now, as I always like to do for those of you at home who are on computers, which is most of you, or pay for YouTube Premium so you can listen to the video and then move away to something else who like to do research. If you were to Google both of these, yes, there is a film currently in development starring John Cleese and comedian Jim Jeffries about the Great Emu War. And yes, there are technically films that exist about the invention of the printing press. However, that film with John Cleese and Jim Jeffries about the Great Emu War, as far as I could find, has not done any level of production. And has no release date set, and thus for the concept of this argument, I've considered it non-viable and allowed someone to argue for it because no other film exists. And for those of you who find films about the printing press, every film about this invention that I could find is a television movie and thus not a major studio release. With that disclaimer out of the way, we're going to get back to the argument. Zach, for the Emu War, time starts when you begin speaking.
So let's give a little bit of backstory. So after the First World War, British and Australian veterans were given farmland in order to grow crops and become farmers. Then in 1932, the 20,000 emus emigrated there and just started destroying crops, which involved the defense minister, Sir George Pierce, to call upon an army to try to rid the emu population. The only problem is emus are a very formidable opponent. So this all took place in the matter of 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day. And out of the 20,000 emus that started, less than 1,200 were eliminated by the military with over 12,000 rounds of ammo. And the general of this army had a great quote, and I kind of want to read it. He said that if we had a military division with the carrying capacity of these birds, they could face any army in the world. They could face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. Now, remember, he is talking about emus, which, again, is just so ridiculous. And I'll get into my thoughts on the other invention in the 4 minutes.
All right, that'll be a concession of those few seconds there. Papa, back over to you. 2 minutes on the clock when ready.
Well, I just want to say I am so glad that I am using most of my brain to do something else, because if I had to sit and listen to that 2 minutes of Zach try to explain this, I would have either fallen asleep or thrown my tablet out the window in frustration. Not gonna lie, that was very boring. I read a little bit about the Emu War. I kind of thought maybe that'd be a fun TV show. After that, I'm pretty done. The Emu War, not gonna lie, it is one of those funny, oh hey, yeah, that did happen. But ask an Australian what his thoughts are on the Emu War. Odds are he's probably not even gonna remember it. He's gonna be like, oh yeah, they touched briefly about that when I was a little kid learning about Australian history. I grew up in Texas. We learned about it was the Chicken War. The Texas and the Mexican army, their chickens died randomly, and they both thought it was each other. So they ended up taking the chickens of the other army, cutting their heads off, throwing them in the bunks. Funny, weird. How'd this happen? I don't know, but it's like you don't remember it. You're like, oh yeah, that was a thing, and that's exactly what the Emu War was. oh, hey, yeah, I kind of remember that was funny. Didn't really care what I learned about it. As an American, I don't really care about it. Whereas the printing press, guess what, Zach? You have been affected by the invention of the printing press. Have you read a book? Odds are you have. I'm not going to assume. If you haven't, oh, then you're like, oh, I've never been affected. False. Have you watched a movie? I know for a fact you've watched a movie. Guess what? That happened because of the printing press. I'll go into a little brief backstory. The church is corrupt. The Holy Roman Church is not allowing people to have Bibles. They're not allowing people to read. Johann Gutenberg was like, hey, church, screw you. He's a goldsmith, and he invents a device to make it easier to print books, to make books readily available for everybody, which made it to where people could read. Guess what, Zach? I can read. I'm very glad I can read. Even though I don't like reading books, I'm very glad I have that ability.
All right. I'm sure we're all glad we can read, but if not, you can just continue to listen to these two gentlemen debate. We have 4 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So I'll start, actually. The one claim to fame that the printing press really started was the Gutenberg Bible in Latin. And while the Emu War took place over 1 month, it took 3 years to print 200 copies. And yet, in that time, there was no mass distribution. So most of those basically went to waste.
Okay, well, it's called baby steps. They didn't really go to waste. They ended up going somewhere eventually. Also, whenever you have an invention, it's not a hitch right away immediately. And hey, that's amazing story for this movie, which, by the way, Bryan Cranston is going to be playing Johann Gutenberg. Hey, for the first 3 years, it's kind of looking like you wasted your time inventing this. So he starts going down this depression, and then he starts seeing the distribution go out. He sees this little girl come up to him. Hello, Mr. Gutenberg. Thank you for the book. Because of you, I can read. And then right then and there, he's like, you know what? I'm happy now. I'm glad I spent all this time putting together this painstaking machine. And I don't know if you know how the first printing press worked. They would take these letters and they'd put them in order for these words. And they had to do it backwards too. And then they'd lay it down and lift it up. And then all your prints right there. Very painstaking work. It's just like clockmaking with all these gears and trinkets going into this very small device. And one little mistake could actually prove very fatal to what you're doing. That, just seeing all this work that Bryan Cranston's having to do to get this to work. Hey, he messes up one thing. You see him tear everything up, say he shouldn't have done this. And then you have that victory of he did it and it worked out for him. Where's the victory on the Emu War? Hey, we killed a bunch of animals. That's amazing.
Now, if you see, where's the victory in the Emu War? It's with the emus. Basically, it's showing that the emus were able to outlast the military. But with what you were saying about all that goes on, to me, that just sounds very technical. And that seems more like something like you would watch in school or watch on like the History Channel rather than going to a movie theater and wanting to see that. And in your movie, is it just going to be about the printing press or is it going to be about Gutenberg? Because he died penniless and most of his printing presses got destroyed. So what type of movie are you actually going to be showing?
Well, I mean, we can take creative freedom in some of these things. It's going to be talking about Gutenberg, why he decided to do this, and guess what? You don't have to show him put every single letter side by side. That's almost as boring as your 2 minute where you were building your argument. Guess what? It's called montages. You can see him put letters to the side. Close the thing. Close the thing. You can build these moments. It's called cinematography. People do it for a living. To where you can see mistake after mistake. You can see the frustration build and build. And hey, he died penniless. Who cares? He had a little moral victory. And you can get into that too. Because a lot of people, again, don't know why he invented the printing press or don't really know a lot of the story of him inventing the printing press. Guess what? if we have a movie about it, you can know a lot more.
I'm just going to let it go down to my last minute.
Well, that's a stupid idea, Zach, but if that's what you want to do,
And
go.
time. All right, so we're going to go to the 1 minute closing. Zach, you're up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So, Papa kind of had his little bit of a casting for his movie. I wanted to spend this last minute basically going over my casting. Now, this movie could be made in a variety of ways. It could be a war parody like Hot Shots. It could be just a straight up ridiculous movie like Sharknado, or it could be a dark comedy. And if you go the dark comedy route, you could get maybe the Coen brothers or Edgar Wright to direct it. And you have to have some star power in this. So as the defense minister, since it's in Australia, you can get Hugh Jackman. And for the general, why not get Russell Crowe? Just hearing those two names and the director, along with how ridiculous it sounds, will definitely get people going to see this movie.
And time. All right, Papa, you got 1 minute left on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
First off, you don't even know what your movie's going to be. Okay, that's going to sell. You can't bring anyone you want in if you don't even know what your movie is going to be. I know what my movie is going to be. It's going to be the invention of the second most important thing in all humankind. That's going to be a biopic about a gentleman building the second most important invention in all humankind. It's telling a story. Guess what? There's a little movie out there called The Imitation Game about Alan Turing and how he broke the secret code. Guess what? You didn't see all the painstaking getting what he thought was the correct code. That's not the right code. Getting what he thought was the correct code. That took forever to do. Guess what? They made a really good movie about it that you didn't see every little detail, and you don't have to see every little detail about the printing press to make it a fantastic movie. I don't know how to make your movie a fantastic movie. Yeah, let's throw everybody. Let's throw Ryan Reynolds in there. Let's get Daniel Day-Lewis out of retirement and get him in there.
All right, that is going to be it for the round. I'm going to go ahead and put both of you guys in the back and bring in our judges for their deliberation. Richie, I'm going to go up to you first, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point of their argument?
Well, first of all, yeah, this is very interesting because I know a bit about the Emu War movie that's coming out, directed by Damien Callanan, who I know. I think it's slated to be released in 2025. Going to be mostly a comedy because Anyway, but you look out for that. It's gonna be interesting. Look, this is interesting. The Emu War is something. Yeah, like Papa was on the money when he said, a lot of Australians don't know about the Emu War. I know fuck all that Emu War. Emus terrify me though. They're ostriches on meth. Anyway, like I will say, Zach had me right until the end when he admitted that he didn't have like an idea of what this movie wants to be. I was just like, oh, you had me, and then you lost me. So I'm gonna go with Papa. But yeah, man, I was with Zach all the way until that last moment.
All right, Jonathan, down to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to see both these movies. It's batshit insane. I will love both of them. And two very unique pitches, how the vibe of the movie is going to be, and this is a very hard one to decide. I'll be honest with you. Argument's sake, they were both pretty even for me, and I'm gonna go slightly at the moment to Zach because I think he pointed out the sort of the morality, not morality, let's just say sort of the stakes around his movie along with it. And I felt with Jacob, the more important analogy in the opening for the printing press was good and very on point. I didn't feel like it was more expanded beyond that. So I will give my point slightly to Zach.
Okay, which means once again, Brian, we're going to go for the tie-breaking vote. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I'm going to go with Papa on this one. What sold me was he was talking more how this would be an interesting concept how be a ball pick, and Zach didn't really know what. I agree with what you said. Like Zach didn't know what type of way it will be at the end, so I'm gonna go Papa on this one.
Okay, all right, guys. Thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back. We'll go ahead and bring back the competitors and move on to question number 3 of this matchup. And we are going to be talking about an actor who has been around for a long, long time. It's actually incredibly coincidental. Funny enough, the day that we're recording this is the same day as the release of That 90s Show, which is the spinoff to That 70s Show. And it's really funny. A little bit ago, my sister, who's 16 years old, she's watching That 70s Show for the first time because she likes to watch things before the sequels. And she wants to watch That 90s Show, so she's watching That 70s Show. And she was like, oh my God, is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Because Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in an episode of the first season of the show, and I got to tell this story, which if you've never heard it, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was at one point considered to be a main character on the show. They were going to bring him on full-time as a leading character as a part of the cast. But in his first appearance, they made a decision to make the character gay. And that went over so poorly with test audiences at the time who would watch these network episodes in order to kind of give notes to the studio on what to do, that they scrapped the whole idea of bringing the extra character in, and Gordon-Levitt only ended up being in one episode. Now, he's an incredible actor, and his career was not affected by that in the slightest. But his 2000s was not the busiest decade, and he might have been a little busier had he found himself on That 70s Show, because the other actors found a lot of work. But just because he didn't have a lot of work doesn't mean he didn't have good work. The question is the long way to get there. What is the best Joseph Gordon-Levitt film released in the 2000s? And we have probably the 2 definitive answers here for this question, but we'll go ahead and see who can win out. And with this, Papa, you are back up first, sir. I know you're listening to me in the background. How's the dinner going? Let's check in real quick. How's the dinner going?
Oh, I was going to use this for part of my argument. It's done.
Is done. All right. He's got dinner cooked, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you enjoy that, just not on the mic. You have 1 minute to start when ready.
Don't worry. I have to make this somewhat professional. Try to make a good show out of this, because if it was up to just Zach, we would have turned off a long time ago. That being said, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, what is the best movie of his in the 2000s? Easy. I'm so glad I got to answer, or I answered first, because had not, I would have just given up on this point. Because the obvious answer, 500 Days of Summer, great rom-com. You get to see the relationship he builds with a girl named Summer. The fun fact, she breaks up with him actually like right at the very beginning, and then it's kind of a backtrack of building their relationship. And then you see the heartbreak again of her dumping him. You see what that does to him. He goes out on another date, and he's only talking about this girl. And then he runs into Summer again, and she finds out she's married, and the heartbreak of all that. Joseph Gordon-Levitt gives a fantastic performance. I'm about to cry just thinking about his performance and similar situations that I've been through just like this. Fantastic.
All right, Zach, over to you for your argument. 1 minute on the clock when ready.
So with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he has great performances in a lot of different movies, and they don't all have to be live action. So my choice is the Disney animated movie Treasure Planet. And I'll first start off by saying that this movie is underrated because it's only at a 69 on Rotten Tomatoes, but it seems like it came out at the wrong time. It should have come out later, but because of how much love people have for it, it's actually developed a cult following. And the first thing that is great about this movie is it has excellent world design with the different locations that you get to go to, and just how exquisite and extraordinary that these places look.
And time. All right. We're going to go back over to you, Papa. 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Zach, you are correct. Treasure Planet, Very underrated movie. Some would say it's the most underrated Disney animated movie. They're wrong. Canonically, Atlantis: The Lost Empire is in fact more underrated. That being said, just because it's underrated doesn't mean it's that good. I'm a defender of this movie, but the voice casting has a lot more to be desired from. A lot of weird random characters who are just kind of thrown in there that don't really work all that well. There's an alien that farts. That's not funny unless you're two. You talk about great world building. We go to 3 planets, so we don't really see a lot of this universe that we could. Apparently my tablet is not appreciating me being very mean to you, but guess what? When you call somebody out on a debate, they better be mean to you, because that is how you debate. Tablet, deal with it. He deserves this. Treasure Planet could have been a whole lot better. They took Treasure Island and they threw it into space at a time when we had Star Wars. Fantasy sci-fi was great. This was the perfect time for this movie. But guess what? It didn't bring anything that new. It was space that we've already been seeing a lot of, that we were kind of getting tired of, and throwing a story that we've heard countless times didn't really help it a lot. Whereas 500 Days of Summer, great heartfelt story about a guy falling in love, seeing the love of his life leave him. Yeah, that's tragic. That sucks. And it makes a fantastic movie out of it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt gives a great performance. Also, Zooey Deschanel. She's a bitch in this movie, but you know what? I love her, and I love her in this movie. Chloe Grace Moretz, Matthew Gray Gubler, Jeffrey Arden. Everyone in this movie does a great job. You know who doesn't do a great job? That farting monster, alien, whatever he is.
Time. All right. Papa, you get 2 minutes to Google the farting monster if you would like. Zach, you have 2 minutes on the clock to defend your film. Time starts when you begin speaking.
See, so the only thing you said in terms of negative for a character was the farting alien. I felt like there are a lot of great characters that you didn't mention. Jim, the main character, you get to see the journey that he gets to go on. You get the pirate Silver, who Jim has a very close connection with. You get the captain of the ship. You get Ben the robot that Jim meets and actually has a crucial importance to the main story. And then you also get Morph, who is the alien along with Silver that has some great moments in this movie. And now, if you want to talk about characters, Tom in 500 Days of Summer is so bland and boring, and I don't even know why we're even making the movie about him when Summer and Chloe Grace Moretz, Rachel, his younger sister, have a lot more personality and are more entertaining to watch. But let's get back to my movie, because this movie also, it throws in a lot of different genres into the mix. You get some comedy in there, you get action and adventure, and you get some intrigue, so some thriller moments thrown in there. And along with that, you get another great message in a movie, and that is seeing greatness in someone and charting your own course in life.
And time. All right, we're going to go ahead and go into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will start back up when the first competitor speaks.
So, Zach, you talk about Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character being kind of bland. Guess what? When you fall in love with a woman, your senses start to kind of dwindle a little bit. You lose the ability to speak. Me, personally, I stutter really bad whenever I'm in the presence of a woman that I love. and you kind of get bland. You think that's bad acting. That is phenomenal acting by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And again, that whole cast, the main three, JGL, Zoe Deschanel, Chloe Grace Moretz, they are all phenomenal. Name 2 voice actors in your movie. Guess what? You can't unless you are currently looking at the
Nope.
cast.
Martin Short and Emma Thompson. There we go.
You are looking.
Those are just the supporting characters. But the way this movie is structured, yes, it might be different, but it's not a great way of telling it because it's very mood swingy. You have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and it just knocks you around. If it was told in the regular format, it would seem like it would flow better and be natural, and it would seem like you can understand what Tom is going through more. And I feel like this movie is just also way too depressing more than it is like a mixture of both.
So fun fact, highest of highs, lowest of lows. It's exactly what happens when you fall in love, especially when you have your bad times. Those are really low. Even when you're still together, when you have a fight, really low. Whenever you get broken up with, really low. Tom's depressed because he just got dumped by the love of his life and has to live the rest of his life without her. That's depressing. Also, fun fact, guys, the alien's name is Flatula. Its name is a legitimate fart joke. I'm so glad that you read the cast beforehand to where you could tell me Emma Thompson's in the movie. Captain Amelia is very forgettable as a leader. I'm more kind of interested in her relationship with Scroop, and that's also just thrown in. They're never with each other, and then they're prisoners together, and they love each other. Why? I don't know, but Disney animation, that's allowed to happen. Silver, guess what? I was going to say, the plot twist that is great in Treasure Island is the fact that Silver is actually a bad pirate, is thrown away in the first 2 minutes of the film, making everything else kind of uninteresting because you know he's going to turn. They have moments where they can build this suspense and this thrill that would have been amazing in space, but you don't get them. This movie would have been a lot better had it been 30 minutes to an hour longer, but Disney knew this movie was not going to do well, so they didn't let the directors. By the way, 2 directors. You think 2 directors double the quality? No. Maybe a third of the quality?
But now you said Silver might be a bad pirate, but maybe what happens in that is like you get that great connection with him and Jim, and they get to actually help one another in that charting each other's course for the future and what could really become of these 2 characters.
Which happens in Treasure Island.
And time. All right, we're going to go into the 1-minute closing section. Papa, you are up first once again. Time starts when you begin speaking, sir.
Yep. So just like I said, right at the very end, one of the really cool parts about this is you see that relationship between Jim and Silver, which happens in Treasure Island. Everything cool about this movie, the adventure, blah, 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 whatever, happens in Treasure Island. They took what would have made it great, space, seeing all these great, cool planets, hearing the swashbuckling story, and they didn't really do it. It didn't work that well, and they had so much that they could have done that they didn't. The best Treasure Island is Muppets Treasure Island. Has everything Treasure Planet has, except better. 500 Days of Summer. Guess what? Have you ever seen a rom-com where the girlfriend dumps the boyfriend right at the beginning of the movie? Not until this movie came out. It was different, and it worked so well. Unlike Treasure Planet.
And that is time. Zach, you will have the final minute of this round. It'll start when you begin speaking.
there were also one more thing that I never even mentioned about 500 Days of Summer, and I've never seen it happen in real life, but this movie is also very obsessive. How many times have you seen you go on a date with someone new and you spend the whole time talking about the girl that broke up with you, and it wasn't anything about threatening or anything like that? It just seemed like very obsessive. And if you want a character, if you want to root for a character that it goes through those ups, those highs and lows, but you actually feel more empathy for them, go watch 50-50, also starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now, also, this movie had great talent behind it with John Musker and Ron Clement, who also did Hercules and Aladdin.
Time. All right. That is time on the argument. Another good round, guys. I'm going to go ahead and put both of you in the back and bring our judges in for the deliberation. I don't have a fact check, but I have a couple fun facts. One, for those of you who have seen multiple episodes of the show, you may remember a time when we had to Google search if Tom, the lead character in 500 Days of Summer, was an incel. That was a rabbit hole to go down. Not brought up in this argument, so don't let that affect your standing, but it's a fun thing that I had to do once. That's what I do behind the scenes. The second is having two directors for animation is standard business, Papa. Most animated films have at least two directors. It's very difficult to undertake everything that entails an animated film with just one director. Yeah, fun fact. All right, with that said, not Papa, your pet, it also starts with a P. We're going to go to you, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point of the argument, as concise as you can get it for me?
Okay, I was going to go with Zach on this one because I think he pointed out more find sort of the beauty of Treasure Planet itself, though. And I didn't hear enough slightly for Papa, though, to about 500 Days of Summer because it's more breaks up with it, but I didn't hear a little more linear core of the story of the reason why, though. I didn't hear that mainly for him. So that was my reason to get my point to Zach.
Okay, so the first vote goes to Zach. Brian, I go down to you. Same question, who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I'm going to go with Pop on this one. He was able to knock down Zach with the whole twist with Silver, and I'm going to go Pop on this one.
Okay, all right, which means for the third time in a row, we're going to go to the tiebreaker vote. Richie, you are in the hot seat this time. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I want to point out best fighting alien, Abe from Abe's Odyssey. No, didn't shout out there. If you want to, anyway. But yeah, this one was tougher. But yeah, I think just in the end, they both put really good points. But in the end, I think Papa, was able to counter more as to why maybe just a little Gordon-Levitt's character acts the way he does, and I think Zach was able to counter back as well. He did a good job selling Treasure Planet, but I don't know if he did. I think I think Papa did a better job at selling why 500 Days of Summer is better than Treasure Planet. So I'll go Papa, but it was close.
Okay, well, judges, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you, but I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back because your winner by a final score of 3-0 in a knockout victory, Papa Jacob West, pulling out the victory. Papa, a very good performance tonight, really, really dominant. How are you feeling after that?
You sound surprised? Hey, again, like I said, there are very few guarantees in life. Me destroying Zach, guaranteed. Just like the Jacksonville Jaguars, able to beat the Chargers. A lot of people kind of were surprised by that. I don't know why. Chargers can't do anything right. Justin Herbert, not a great quarterback. Keenan Allen, not a great receiver. I can't even name their tight end. I will say Austin Eckler, good running back. I appreciate you, Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so, obviously, a big win, 3-4, puts you in a better position within the league. You have that knockout, which of course really, really helps you. But I want to go ahead and pull something up real quick because, as you guys saw at the start of the video, Papa decided that he wanted to be this big guy and respond publicly to the call out. But there's a bit of that clip that I left out, so I want to play the full thing for you guys.
There is a little annoying piece of shit walking around Florida right now thinking, I think it would be fun to go up against Papa. Papa, when's my next trivia match? When's my next trivia match? Zach Shelton, you annoying piece of shit. I'm calling you out right now. Next year, you're going to get your ass handed to you by Joe. He's going to knock you out in one question because you're going to cry and go home after that, even though you're already home. You're going to leave your house, walk a couple blocks down, and then go back home. And then I'm going to take you and I'm going to punish that small ass of yours. And you are going to want to quit. And then you ready for this? Aaron Cannoli, I didn't want to be here. You made me do that. After I'm done with Zach Shelton, you're next. Papa out.
So I'm going to start by apologizing to Zach because the way that this match went, that's probably a little bit in poor taste playing that. But I want to talk about that last bit there. The fuck did I ever do to you, man?
What didn't you do to me?
What made you want to wrap me into all of this? Like,
so I don't remember who I think that was. I think it was against Noah, that match that Will judged, and you forcing me to take on somebody who I already took on. You forcing me to play them again when I've told you not to. You forcing me continuously. Hey, you have to compete. I don't even remember signing this contract that you shove in my face. Article 2, Section 53. Papa has to compete
54.
whenever I say so. So most people get enjoyment out of getting title shots. I'm getting enjoyment by kind of getting revenge. Call this Papa Revenge, Papa's Revenge Tour if you want to. You just need you need a little bit of humility. Somebody needs to kick you off of this little high pedestal that you're sitting yourself on.
well, I'm going to give you that opportunity. And then I'm going to take it away from you by swiftly whipping your ass. So take a minute. I have a match against Chad Webb coming up because that man needs cannon fodder to boost his record. So I'm going to take that L real quick. And then I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to punish that fat ass of yours. And I'm going to make you spit back up that bean dinner that you spent this entire match swallowing. All right. And it's going to taste just as sweet and sugary coming back up because Bush's Beans has a sauce that is very, very sweet and it is very delicious. I agree with you there.
Thank you. And to correct you, the West men, notoriously known for their small asses. Had you said my fat stomach, you would have been correct. My ass, actually pretty small.
All right, well, we'll go fat stomach to fat stomach in a couple of weeks, Papa. I will see you there. Don't be late. You never are. You're a very punctual gentleman, but don't be late to that matchup. Get your ass out of here. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Zach Shelton. Again, apologies for the in poor taste video play, but I felt the need to do so there. Zach,
but
obviously...
I actually did want to respond to one thing that Papa did say in that video. He said that after he beats me, that I will want to quit. This makes my fire even higher to get back and beat whoever I have to play next.
Absolutely. And look, it's never fun to lose. It's never fun to lose by knockout. Well, I can't say I've never been knocked out personally, but a lot of us have felt that feeling. But I would say that this is a step up. This is an improvement. I say what I say, meaning no disrespect towards yourself. But Joe handled you like I think everybody thought they would. You were a relative rookie going up against a former two-time champion. There are very few ways that will end. And any of them that weren't what happened would have been a surprise and a benefit in your area. There's no shame in losing the way that match went down. You may have been knocked out tonight, but every single mat round did have to go to a split vote. It meant that you were getting into the heads of some of the judges. You were saying things that made it difficult. You were putting up a fight, even if it didn't go your direction. So just overall, before we close out for the evening, what are your thoughts on the match?
Well, going back to Joe for one second, though, I will say, even though I got knocked out by that, I at least had the opportunity to go up against someone who was better than me just to see how I would do. And you already knew that. This, I wanted to do a lot better. I thought I was going to, but at least I know some things now that I need to correct for next time.
All right. Short, sweet, and simple. Zach, till next time, sir, take care. We will see you in the next match. And we will see you there. So I'll go ahead and put you guys in the back. So that is it. The miserable oaf that is Papa West takes this victory. I'm going to put him down worse than I put Pez down emotionally beforehand. And he does take the victory tonight. So enjoy that one, Papa, because it's not going to last. With all that said, though, I want to say thank you to the good people that were here tonight. Thank you to Zach for your participation. Thank you to our judges, Richie, Jonathan, and Brian for being here. Thank you to all of you for watching and supporting at home. Please tune in every single week because we have more matches coming here on the Movie Battleground. And on behalf of everyone here, my name is Aaron Knoll. Welcome back to the 2023 season of the Movie Battleground, and we will see you next time. Take care.